Fellow aviators, VRF Sim here. Welcome to leg 34 of the World Tour. Today we are in El Paso, Texas. We'll be headed
4644, contact Denver departure.
south to
Departure
Mexico.
United 4644.
So we're going to end up going to Nuevo Casas Grandes Airport with a stopover at
Departure United
Juarez to clear
4644 is
customs.
out of 7.4,
in
climbing via the subs 1.
Headed 4644, Denver departure radar, contact.
So I already have the aircraft fired up. Already went through up to the taxi check. We just need to pick up the ATIS and then pick up our clearance from El Paso clearance. So let's
0 at
ATIS.
Niner. Visibility 10. Few clouds at 25,000. Temperature Niner. Dew point -12. Altimeter 3013. Arriving and departing runways 4, 8 left, 8 right. Visual approaches in use. RNP approaches available upon request. Read back all runway assignment and hold short instructions. Advise on initial contact you have information Delta. El Paso International Airport. ATIS information Delta. 0451 Zulu. Wind 070 at Niner. Visibility 10. Few clouds.
Alright, there we go. We have the latest weather now Delta. And so I'll go ahead and pick up our clearance on 125.0. And we'll get underway. El Paso clearance, Cessna 215, Romeo Alpha. I'd like to pick up IFR clearance to Juarez International.
Cessna 215, Romeo Alpha, El Paso clearance, clear to the Juarez Airport. Radar vectors El Paso via WAR, then is filed. Maintain a 6,000, departure frequency 119.15 and squawk 5052.
Cessna 215, Romeo Alpha, clear to Juarez, radar vectors El Paso, as filed, climb 6,000, departure 119.15, squawk 5052.
Skyhawk 5, Romeo Alpha, read that correct?
Alright, we've got that now. So I'm going to switch us over to ground, which is 121.9.
And actually, Skyhawk 5, Romeo Alpha, I need to either put you at 8,000 or the lowest I can do is 6,300 if you're going to take Victor 80 down to Farsi. But you're basically going to take off and I'm going to terminate your radar service, just so you know.
Roger, we'll take 8,000, Skyhawk 215, Romeo Alpha.
Roger, maintain 8,000, rest of the readback the same.
Maintain 8,000, Cessna 215, Romeo Alpha. Alright, so we'll go up to 8,000 and got that set. Squawking will be 5052. And so for our filed route, let's go ahead. I'm going to pull that up on SkyVectors. We can go brief that before we get going here. So what we're doing, this is we'll be crossing into Mexico. So typically, what would happen is you have to either file an IFR flight plan, or a type of VFR flight plan you can file, but you have to be in contact with air traffic control, at least getting flight following, heading down that way, and then before you cross, usually air traffic control will tell you to squawk 1200, and you have to get in contact with the Mexican tower, which in our case would be Juarez. Obviously, there's no one manning the tower. Pilot edge doesn't extend into Mexico, so we'll switch to the Common Track Advisor frequency and make our calls. But we're going to El Paso, and then we're following Victor 280 down to Farsi, and then direct to the Juarez VOR in the airport. So we'll get to Farsi, and then we'll just take a visual into Juarez. Right now the winds are 270 at 10 at Juarez. So let me pull up the airport plate for Juarez, so we can go ahead and brief a little bit about that. So going into Juarez, it'll probably be straight into runway 21, and customs, we need to go there and file our flight plan down to Nuevo Casas Grandes. We'll pull into the customs office up here on this north side, and take care of all our paperwork. We'll talk a little bit about some of the requirements if you're going to be flying into Mexico in real life, but it's a simulator, so we don't have to worry about all those problems. And it's a really short flight, so I'm going to go ahead and brief a little bit of the stuff for our approach too. So airport elevation is at 3,900 feet, pattern altitude will be at 4,100, highest obstacle will be a mountain 5,864 feet to the west of the airport. Should be a PAPI on the left side of the runway, and we'll just roll it down to Bravo and into our customs area. So that's the plan. And heading out of here, if we're going to 8 right, it's probably going to be a left turn now onto Golf Mike to 8 right. Pretty short taxi. So I think we're ready to roll. I'll get grounded at 121.9. Tower will be 118.3 in standby. So I'll go ahead and tune that in. 121.9 and 118.
Citation 6911 Juliet. Contact Salt Lake Center 128.72.
Okay, the other thing I need to do, let's get both El Paso VOR and the Juarez VOR tuned in. So let's pull up our sky vector charts. Is this something we need to do? So El Paso VOR is
Station 6911 Juliet, Salt Lake Center, roger.
And then 116.7 for Juarez. So I'll get El Paso in nav 1, and then the Juarez VOR in nav 2 down there. So let's go ahead and do that before we get moving and things get really busy.
Present departure Mooney 152 Max 0. I just want to check and see if Fresno Tower passed on a request for flight following to you guys.
So push that knob there, 115.2.
Number 153 Mike Sierra, affirmative, they did. I actually lost track of you because you're squawking standby. I need you to turn your transponder on, please.
It's basically going to be almost east.
Got it. It's that Flight Simulator 2020 thing. Let me go in and switch that to Max 0.
And then Juarez 116.7. I'll set that down here in nav 2. Got it. And we're going to be pretty much going to the, it should be about 187.
Yeah, through Max 0 should be squawking those two now.
Yep, and you appear to be squawking VFR as well now.
Okay, I'll reset. I'm showing 5636. Let me reset.
If you're in the carrying on Mooney, it doesn't work on the panel. You have to type the X or dot transponder command in the pilot edge client. That's the limitation of that aircraft.
That's the problem. Okay, stand by.
El Paso ground, Cessna 215, Romeo Alpha, like to taxi from the customs ramp with Delta for takeoff.
Number 215, Romeo Alpha, El Paso ground, runway, give you 8 right. Runway 8 right, taxi via Golf and Mike.
Runway 8 right, taxi Golf Mike, Cessna 215, Romeo Alpha. Alright, 8 right, Golf and Mike, as briefed. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and turn on our taxi light, and we will get underway. Don't...
And Denver approach, do you want to go at Denver Center or take it higher for United 4644?
Need 46, 40, I thought I had you off, sorry. Contact Denver Center 127.02.
127.02, United 4644.
Let's get around all these guys that are sitting here around the
It's
aircraft.
4644 Denver Center, climb maintain level 340.
There's Golf right in front of us. It's going to be a really short taxi. But beautiful day here in El Paso. Clear and much clear and just cool. Alright, looks like the turn coordinator is working, the mag compass is working, the DG is working, brakes were checked. Let's check out some of the other items on our taxi check. Got the taxi light on, landing light on, strobe will be on for takeoff, nav lights on, parking brakes released, brakes tested, rudder tested, turn coordinators checked, heading indicators checked, and the compass is also checked. And we'll do a run-up check up here in just a minute. And it looks like this will be our turn here.
There with 153 Mike's here. I still don't see a squawk in the code. I can't give you flight following unless you can change the transponder.
Yeah, no problem. I'll have to figure it out later. I'll go ahead and cancel that request to the next year.
153 Mike's here. Radar services terminated. Squawk maintained VFR. Free exchange approved.
Squawk and VFR, thanks for your help. Here.
We'll go ahead and do our run-up check right here. Let's get to 1800 RPM. And right mag, back to both. Left mag, back to both. Limits are, everything's within limits there. Vacuum's checked, oil temperature's good, pressure's good. And we'll check idle. Should idle out about 600 RPM. And flight controls, we'll check that those are free and correct once we get the throttle back to 1000. Everything's good there. Flight instruments are set. Go ahead and set this heading bug to runway heading, which is 085. Fuel quantity indicators are checked. Mixture is high altitude rich. Fuel selector is both. Autopilot, need to engage it and make sure that disconnects. There it goes. Good. We'll get the trim reset to take off. While it's off, we did the mag checks already. And the ammeter was good. Notice panel stayed clear. And the idle check. Before takeoff check, radios are set, avionics are set, nav GPS switches on nav, transponders on out, autopilot's off, elevator trim set for takeoff, flaps are 0, cabin windows closed, lock, park and brake, release here in just a sec. Rotate 55 and climb out at 70. So I'm trying to, sometimes the charts, I think this is, I can't tell if that says mic up there or not, but it should have been the basically the first right should be our taxiway. So we'll can't really tell here. I'll go ahead and this is 8 right, so 119.15 we need to set for departure. Looks like that might be Lima, so the runway is up ahead. So it just changed pavement color for whatever reason. I was thinking that was the runway, so we still have a little ways to go. Good. Alright, so the runway should be, there it is. I see the signage. Perfect. El Paso Tower, Cessna 215, Romeo Alpha, holding short runway 8 right.
Cessna 215 Romeo Alpha, Paso Tower, flight runway heading, runway 8 right, cleared for takeoff. The wind 070 at Niner.
Fly runway heading, runway 8 right, clear for takeoff, Cessna 215, Romeo Alpha. Alright, so we're clear for takeoff, lights are all coming on. And we'll fly runway heading on departure, going up to 8,000. 8 rights on the sign, 8 rights on the pavement. And here we go. Off to Mexico. Goodbye, United States. For a little while at least. Alright, airspeed's alive. 55. And we're off the ground. I'll accelerate to 70. Mexico's down there.
Cessna 215 Romeo Alpha, can I go past the departure?
Cessna 215 Romeo Alpha, good day. El Paso departure, Cessna 215 Romeo Alpha, 5,000, climbing 8,000, runway heading.
Cessna 215 Romeo Alpha, El Paso departure, radar contact, climb maintain 8,000.
Climb maintain 8,000, Cessna 215 Romeo Alpha. Alright, so we'll continue our climb to 8,000. Runway heading. Looks like we're gonna head quite a ways to the east here. The VOR is up a little bit east of us and north, as we can see on the GPS there. And you can see the Rio Grande down there off the right wing. I'm just going to continue to try to see what the direct course is to the El Paso VOR.
Skyhawk 215 Romeo Alpha, quick check Farsi.
Direct Farsi, Skyhawk 215 Romeo Alpha. Okay, so we got to intercept the off of. I think this will let us do this. Let's see if it'll let me put in Farsi now. It's F-A-R-C-Y. Here, let me clear this here. Flight plan, direct. F A
Got 215 Romeo Alpha. After Farsi, you're going to be leaving my coverage area. Radar services terminated and fixed exchange approval. See ya.
Alright. Squawk VFR after Farsi. Brig exchange approved. Cessna 215 Romeo Alpha. Thank you. Alright, there's Farsi. Let's see if this will work. Want this on a direct track of 215 to get to Farsi, so that's what I'll do. Alright, so typically I think you get 1,
46, 44, stay on.
Squawk VFR before you cross the border. And then also...
No, I just dropped somebody off down in El Paso.
We'd be given a discrete transponder code to cross the ADIS by Mexico Air Traffic Control, and U.S. controllers have us squawk VFR 1 to 10 miles before the border, which is what we're doing right now. And here comes our altitude of 8,000. And then we need to tune into Juarez Tower now, which is not simulated in Pilot Edge, so I will just put in 122.8. Go. And I have the airport right in front of us. Juarez traffic, Cessna 215, Romeo Alpha. 10 miles to the north, crossing the ADIS. We're landing runway 21, Juarez. Alright, so now we are leaving the United States of America and entering Mexico. I'll maintain 8,000 until we cross into Mexico, and then we'll begin our descent. And we are in Mexico. officially in Mexico. Here we go. So we'll slow down and go down. We'll turn right to a heading of 270 and we'll just do S turns down, so I'll slow us down. And we'll get down there. See, it's a fairly large city. So I did purchase the Baja Bush Pilot's Guide to Flying in Mexico and Central America, and it says that Juarez is a very busy town and it's centered around a steel mill. You can see there are a lot of people that live here, but it is an international airport, so you have to stop and check in at customs, Mexican customs, before you proceed to your next destination inside Mexico. So this is one of the first places that we can stop. So we'll just keep going down, and like we briefed before we left, just gonna do a right 360 to lose some altitude. Juarez International Traffic, Cessna 215, Romeo Alpha, 2 mile final runway 21. Any traffic in the area, please advise Juarez International. Yeah, so pattern altitude here would be at 5,100 feet. We're on 2 mile final, then we should be about 600 feet above the ground, so about 4,500 feet is what we're looking for. So we still have about 700 feet to lose. And we should be getting right back on glide path now, so I'm going to continue inbound to the runway. I think we'll be ready to go now. And we're just going to keep it rolling down until that until Bravo, which is on the right side of the runway and just past the intersection with runway 3315. So here we go. And when we get there to the customs office, we'll file our next flight plan onto Nuevo Casas Grandes. And they do not have an automated weather or anything. We would have to talk to the tower in order to get our winds here. But like we saw earlier, they were out of the southeast. So they're shifting now. We have a little bit of a tailwind. Alright, we'll keep it rolling. We'll go ahead and get the flaps up. The wind kicking up a little more. Alright, so we'll keep everything rolling here. Be crossing an intersecting runway. There it is. And here's our exit on the high speed. Got a pretty nice looking airport. Flores International Traffic, Cessna 215, Romeo Alpha, clear runway 21, taxiing to customs via Bravo and Alpha. Flores International. Alright. So it'll be a right turn here, Bravo, and a right turn on Alpha. We'll go ahead and turn off our strobe and our landing light. And we'll just make our way up here to customs. Looks like it should be the next left. But they are expecting us. We had already reported everything. I think we'll just park right over here. And everything I read, you will be met by armed military personnel. And basically, they're going to check the aircraft. They're going to check everything. And then I'd have to walk into the commandant's office and he'll check all my paperwork and I'll make sure my next flight plan is filed. Alright, so here we are. Customs area. Park it right here. We'll just assume this is where they want us to park. They'd obviously show us where they wanted us to be. And we'll shut down and get our paperwork in order before we continue. So parking brake is on. We'll go ahead and turn off the transponder. The radio is off. Taxi light can come off now. And we'll take our mags back to off. And we're going to be continuing our flight. This is just an intermediate stop. Beacon nav light off, make sure idle cut off. And we'll get the battery master and alternator off. Fuel to the left and fuel shut off valves out. I guess it didn't let us open the window yet, but okay. Well, here we are. Let's take care of some business. So I'm going to disconnect from Pilot Edge since we are now finished with that. So I'll come into the web interface, disconnect. So now we're ready to switch over to VATSIM, which I have gotten us a flight plan prepared. I'll go ahead and get that set up with vPilot, which is the application they use for Flight Simulator. So we are now connected and ready to go with that. And while we're waiting, I'm going to show you all something with basically we'll talk through a few of the things that would go on here with flying into Mexico. So that you'd have a lot of paperwork to do. The the customs personnel would check out your paperwork and your flight plan leaving out of here. We'll just assume everything was good. We paid all the multiple fees. I'll put a link in the description of this video if you wanted to look at all the different different items that you'd have to think about and look at if you were going to do this in real life, cross into Mexico. But we'll assume we have everything complete now. So we'll go ahead and hop back into the airplane and get it fired up and continue our trip to the south to Nuevo, Casas. So we gotta pull out the checklist again and get rolling. So aircraft documents are checked, parking brake is set, ignition's off, avionics switches are off, battery switch, we'll turn that on. Fuel quantity indicators are good, low fuel enunciators are off, avionics switch is on, avionics fans are good, stack pressure alternate source valve off, enunciator panel is tested, fuel selector on both. Fuel shutoff valve is now open. Flaps, check down and check the pitot heat again. It's working. Battery switch back off and elevator trim set to neutral. Got that set. Before starting engine check. Pre-flight inspection. Let's go outside and just look at that again. We'll make a right hand turn off. That'll take us to the runway here in Juarez. So pre-flight inspection is complete. Seats and belts adjusted and locked. Electrical equipment off. Avionics buses off. Fuel selector both. Fuel shutoff valve open. Starting engine check. So we get the reset page button there since I ran it earlier leaving El Paso. But get a reset for this. So throttle open 1/4 inch. Mixture idle cut off. Propeller area clear. Clear prop. Looks good. Battery switch on. Get the beacon on, mixture rich. Auxiliary fuel pump on, 3 to 5 seconds. 2, 3. It's good. Mixture lean. Feet on the brakes, and we'll start up the engine. Here we go. And good start. We have good oil temperature, pressure, vacuum gauge is good, ammeter is now showing is charging, alternator light is, everything's off. Turn on the avionics switches, get that firing up. So throttle's adjusted to 1000 RPM, oil pressure's checked, alternator's on, alternator indicator's off, ammeter's checked. Avionics switches are on, radio's on, transponder to standby, which it is, flaps up. Heading indicator set should be about 040, that's what it's showing, and altimeter we'll need to go into here, turn the voices back up so we can listen to any weather that might be around, but like I said, they don't have weather, automated weather frequencies posted for Juarez on the charts. One thing we do have, I think we do have the Sky Vector browser. So let's take a look at that really quickly. That'll show us what's going on here. And it doesn't have Juarez, but if we look at El Paso, it still winds 120 at 6 now. So that's what we'll assume the temperature is, and altimeter 3013. So that being said, let's go ahead and brief our taxi since it is uncontrolled down here right now for us. So it'll be it's 210 at 13. I think we can take off on runway 15. In fact, I know we can, so we'll just make a right turn and then a left turn on Alpha, and then back taxi 15, turn around, take off. Plenty of runway there, 5,610 feet. And airport elevation is 3,904. We can check that with the altimeter to make sure that that looks accurate also. Which it does. So good. Alright, so that all looks good. Altimeter's set, attitude indicator's set. And for our taxi check, taxi light, we'll turn that on in a sec, and we'll check all of the other items on there. Let's go ahead and taxi out. Let me just double check vPilot, make sure there's nobody online. Denver Center's the only thing online anywhere remotely close, so we're good to go. Got our nav lights on. And taxi light. Here we go. Yeah, it looks like it costs at least a few $100 just to pay the fees for entering Mexico. And that's just to the Mexican government. US government's gonna need some money too. So it's not cheap if you want to fly to Mexico. You better make a good trip out of it. Alright, I'll make our radio call here. Rose International Traffic, Cessna 215 from the Alpha, taxi from the customs ramp to runway 15 via Alpha. Any traffic in the area, please advise Juarez. Turn here to the left, and we'll go ahead and do I'm gonna go ahead and do the run-up check on the fly here. So I'll go up, ride the brakes a little bit, go up to 1800 RPM, and we'll do the mag check. Everything looks good. Oil temperature, pressure good, vacuum gauge good, ammeter's good, no annunciator lights, we'll check idle. And it should settle out about 600, 650. That's good. And one other thing, let's go ahead and we need to tune in our final destination airport, which is Mike Charlie Golf. Let's get that in there just so we have it as a reference. So Mike Charlie and Golf. There we go, Nuevo Casas Grandes. So I will go down here, we will activate that. And now we have our just a backup in case we need it. Let's do the rest of the checklist here. So I'm just going to stop us here. We'll set the parking brake. Then for the run-up check, parking brake set, pilots, passenger seatbelts, most upright position, seats, belts, checked secure, flight controls are free and correct, flight instruments are set, fuel quantity indicators are checked, mixture is high altitude rich, fuel selectors on both, autopilot, let's do the engage, check that it will disconnect, it did, we'll set the trim back to takeoff neutral, throttle set to 1800 RPM, we already did the mag checks, everything was within limits, vacuum gauge was good, oil pressure and temperature were good, ammeter was checked, and NCR panel was cleared, engine oil was checked good, and throttle adjusted to 1000 RPM. For takeoff check, radios are set, avionics set, nav GPS switch, we'll set that to GPS, transponder on alt, let me check vPilot, make sure that it's showing alt mode C, it is, and blue trim set for takeoff, flaps are 0, cabin windows closed, lock, parking brake release, we're ready to go. Alright, I'll get all our lights on. Whereas international traffic, Cessna 215, Romeo Alpha, back taxiing runway 15, we departing the pattern to the north. Whereas, so we're gonna fly north to start out with. I want to check out a quick section of town here, the Anapra section. Just want to see what it looks like here from the air. I once got to go on a trip to Juarez a couple decades ago, and just want to see what that part of the city looks like from the air, since that was the area I stayed in, just to help there's a church in the area, and people from our church went to that church and just helped them with a project that they're building, which was really nice. Have fond memories of the trip. Okay, here we go. Yeah, left crosswind. Just full throttle. That is neat. They do have the buildings modeled differently once you cross the border here into Mexico on Flight Sim. You can just see that they do look different than up in El Paso or previous flights in the U.S. So we should be able to follow a road that was just to the west of the airport. So we'll go ahead and turn our left downwind here, runway 15 for our departure. So we stay out of the approach path for any aircraft coming in on 2-1 there. We'll talk a little bit about some of the differences of flying in Mexico as opposed to flying in the United States en route. Today we're going to be covering a lot of desert territory. Alright, so we are now clear of the airspace, or clear of the runway. Just gotta make sure I don't accidentally cross into the United States here. I remember Anapra is over here on the west side of the city, and fairly close to the border. I think it's actually out this way. bit. But Juarez is it's a large city. As you can see, a lot of people live here. Juarez. So there's some pretty little mountains here. Looks like we have some writing on the side of the mountain coming up. Let's see if we can make it out. But that's cool. And El Paso, obviously, just right over there on the other side. Alright, there it is. So it says, CD Juarez, La Biblia es, what does that say? La verdad de la, huh, interesting. I'll have to check out and see what that says, or what that means. But cool. And the Anapra section is over this way. We're gonna check it out. Keep climbing this up to 6,500. Soccer field back there. El Paso, this is downtown El Paso. There's an opera. So from here, we will turn south away from the United States border and into the heart of Mexico. cruising at 8,000 feet. Here. See, the direct track is 216. I'm going to set that in the course deflection, CDI, the course deflection indicator there, just so we can have an idea of where we want to be going. So I'm just going to hold about a 180 heading until we center that needle up, and then we'll get rolling on it. Weighing the mixture just a bit more. Feet to level off. Try to set the autopilot really quickly. See if this will work. So autopilot. Altitude hold. And heading mode. See if that works. It should work. And we'll keep accelerating a little bit. Turn on the nav mode of the autopilot. But those are some neat mountains there. So I'll pull up our sky vector chart really quickly so we can take a look at where we are. Where we're headed. You can see it's fairly desolate up ahead. There's just not a whole lot going on as far as cities are concerned. It's a pretty dry area. You can see, so we went around these mountains out here. There's some mines in the area. Cooling tower apparently, just to our right somewhere, or left somewhere over there. But we're just going to continue over the desert. There's the Agua Termales, which is a huge area, it looks like, that we'll be flying over. And then we'll fly by a few unimproved strips. The Sierra de la Escondida, and on the other side of that, Nuevo Casas Grandes, our first stop in Mexico. Official stop in Mexico. So. Pull our throttle back just a little bit here. Some views outside the aircraft a little bit. So we should be getting close to the route. There, needle's coming in now for the GPS. So we'll start making our turn to the right here in just a minute. We'll go ahead and start it now. That almost looks like an airstrip off to the right there, but I don't see anything officially. Alright, we'll hit nav, see what happens. It should start tracking. Okay, well, yeah, we can see. So the Aqua Termales that we were talking about, I think that's it, right off the nose there. You can see there's sun reflecting off the water and mountains in the distance. This is probably the only real deserty leg we're going to be flying for a while. The next few are going to be in the mountains. We get in the mountains pretty quickly here in Mexico, right after take off from Nuevo Casas Grandes on the next leg. But this area right here is definitely, it's kind of a continuation of what we were looking at in southern New Mexico. A lot of shrubbery and it's very desert like. Our landing and taxi light. that little area is down there. That's interesting. It's like a... Well, mine. The sectional chart does show quite a few ranches in the area. Also, I believe it's the railroad that's down just below us. But it is exciting to be in Mexico now. Continuing this first international part of the world tour, 34 legs in. But this tour is designed to be to take a while and allow the exploration of a lot of the areas we're flying over and around. That is a huge body of water out in the middle of the desert. That's pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. One of the reasons this leg was a little bit longer, I mean, there's just not really anywhere to land out here, so let's try to knock out some sort of distance today. Yeah, it looks like this Agua Termales keeps going way down to the south of where we are even. By our water. Right on the other side of this mountain range, it's just a few dirt strips. Up to the spot now. Show it in the GPS here. I know that it will. Well, we should be flying right next to Rancho El Ranchito here on the other side of these mountains. Area coming up on the mountains, Laguna de Santa Maria should be up off our right side, and the Rancho El Ranchito. And that's where we end up. salt flats or starting to see the mountains out in the distance. That's kind of where we're headed to. See if we can find this strip of the Rancho El Ranchito. This will be just south of the Laguna de Santa Maria. See if my Baja Bush Pilots guide mentions it here. I'm gonna look it up really quickly. See if it's the Rancho El Ranchito. Not sure that it will, but it's worth looking up. Yeah, it does not have it in here. Lita, which rises up to 8,176 feet. So we'll have to turn. Might have to turn a little bit left or right to get around it, and then on the other side we'll be headed down right into the valley where our destination is for this leg. And also where it might be one of the more populated areas in this entire region, honestly. to switch this over to heading mode so we can go around the peak. I'm going to take us around just to the left, so yeah, do that now. Here we go. Sierra de la Escondida. Making a traffic call 10 miles south. Casas Grandes traffic. Cessna 215 Romeo Alpha 10 miles to the northeast. Bound to land. Full stop. Nuevo Casas Grandes. Airport elevation is, let's check that out in the sectional chart here. Do not have any airport plates or anything for this particular airport. But we can't see the airport elevation. And it is 4,850, so pound altitude will be at 5,900. So we have a 6,000 foot runway. So we'll enter midfield left traffic. And on the runway going to the southeast. So the winds have completely shifted. Looks like it should be just on the west side of these lakes up ahead. Airport's in sight. As we'll turn the autopilot off, we're going to begin our descent into the Nuevo Casas Grandes airport. Here we go. Taxi light out. It's a pretty good sized city. Especially considering all the desert we've been flying over up to this point. But that's why we had to fly this far. It's about how far apart the cities are in this part of Mexico. Very sparsely populated. Nuevo Casas Grandes traffic, Cessna 170, Cessna 215 runway Alpha, Cessna 172 entering left downwind runway 12, Nuevo Casas Grandes. Alright, there we go. Let's do our before landing check. Last pass seat bats up, most upright position, seats belt secured, lock, fuel selector is both. Fixed taxi lights on, autopilot is off. And we'll start slowing it back here. That's a pretty nice airstrip. And first notch flaps coming in. gas undercarriage mixture, props belts, we're good to land. And I overshot the runway by a lot there. Alright, let's get on back over there. That was not good. Get back over. Nuevo, Casas, traffic. Cessna 215, Romeo Alpha, short final runway 13. Nuevo, Casas, Looks like the winds are fairly light here. And we'll go to idle. So I can slow us down. Alright, we're gonna have to roll past this. Just turn around on the runway up ahead. So it's okay. Alright, we'll do a 180. And from what I read, typically you're going to be met by people wanting to see your pilot certificate and paperwork and all sorts of things here in Mexico. So you better have your paperwork everywhere you go. Alright, here we go. It looks like they have fuel here, so we'll get filled up. Definitely use the fuel. Pretty close here so we can get some fuel. Alright, there we go. Set the parking brake. And transponder. Let me just let everyone know or clear the runway. But Puerto Penasco traffic, Cessna 215 Romeo Alpha, clear runway 13, Puerto Penasco. Correction, Nuevo, Casas, traffic, Cessna 215 Romeo Alpha, clear runway 13, Nuevo, Casas. There we go. Yeah, it's getting late when I'm filming this video, so. Anyways, thanks for joining. Let's go ahead and get this aircraft shut down here. I'll put the transponder on to standby and turn it off. Avionics master off. And turn off the mags, the ignition off, got all the lights off. And we'll get outside. Thanks once again for joining me on leg 34 here. We are now safely into Nuevo, Casas Grandes. It's been a pleasure having you on this flight. We will be continuing farther south in leg 35, the next leg, so be sure to tune in then. Until then, if you're Simmer signing off, see you in the air again soon.